Welcome back, everybody, to another update. I was originally going to try to do these a little more often, but there's not a lot that goes on in my life. So, however, I am working on stuff. Recently, I've been working through doing some more Teen Titans videos. The plan is to have filmed and edited all of the season 4 videos before I start uploading them, so then I can actually just upload them consistently and not worry too much about them past that point. So I'm working through those. I've recorded about half of them, and I'm slowly making my way through editing. I've also recorded and started editing the video about the Teen Titans video game, which will sort of kick off the season. So when that comes out, then we'll start seeing consistent Titans videos again. In the meantime, I'm also working on other stuff. Right now, I'm working on a video about Pirates of the Caribbean, which should come out sometime this week if I actually finish it. It's taking longer than I was anticipating it to take because I really like talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, so I've just talked for far too long about it, and now the video is taking too long to edit. But otherwise, it's going well, and I'm working on that. And I have other plans for other videos that I really want to get to, but that's where we are right now. That's the update. Anyone see the solar eclipse today? I did. It was pretty cool. I got a couple video clips of it and a couple photos that look, decent. Well, that look okay. You can kind of see what's happening. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see it in person. Where I was, it wasn't quite totality, but it was pretty close, and it was pretty cool. So, hey, that was kind of cool. Here's a couple pictures I took. Look at that! Wow. What else? Anyone watching X-Men '97? It's really good. I don't really have a hot take. I just think it's really solid. I was worried about this one because it seemed like such a random thing to be like, let's make a continuation of the 90s X-Men and bring back a good chunk of the cast and stuff. It's like, I don't know, I guess I just expected them to fuck it up somehow, but no, it's really solid. The animation's great. It's got this really cool style because it's in the style of the 90s show, but the animation is like really stepped up a level. The animation in the original show is not great, and some of it is okay. The theme song rules, but outside of that, the show itself is kind of mixed in quality in terms of animation. But 97, the current show, is really great, and it's really cool. The way the action is really been awesome. They've been really playing up and exploring different creative uses of all the different X-Men's powers. It's it's just doing X-Men stuff. They're doing a lot of stories straight from the comics. It's really good. I don't really have another hot take on it, but it's reminding me that I really like X-Men, which I forgot for a bit because there hasn't been a good X-Men thing in a while. So now I've been going back and I'm watching X-Men Evolution, which was a show that started in, I think, the year 2000, and it's very early 2000s, and it's a show that is very like, the premise sounds insane when you try to explain it to somebody. So the premise of X-Men Evolution is it's the X-Men, but they're in high school, and not like, oh yeah, because they go to a Xavier school for gifted children or whatever. No, like they go to regular high school, and then after school they go to Xavier's like boarding school for mutants, where they learn how to be X-Men and they learn how to use their powers and stuff, and they live there. They live at his mansion, like all the X-Men stuff like normal, but then during the day they go to regular normal high school. and then it does all of the like high school teen drama stuff that you would expect. So it's kind of like if in Harry Potter, like Harry and his friends, who are all wizards, went to like a normal high school and then after school they go to Hogwarts and they like learn spells and shit. It's kind of like that. So it's like a very it sounds like a very weird premise. Because it's like, why don't you just have a high school, like just have a high school show set at the Xavier Institute, like the whole time, and then it's just like them going to classes, but then some of their classes are like learn how to be an X-Man or whatever. No, it's not that. But I've actually come to really enjoy the show's premise and its take on the X-Men mythos. Like there's some character stuff where they've changed the ages of certain characters. Not exactly, because the majority of the X-Men, when they joined the team, like started as teenagers. So like in the 60s, Scott and Jean and like those ones were all teenagers. But here, like they're teenagers at the same time as like Rogue and Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler and stuff like that. And Spike. Remember Spike? Everyone's favorite X-Man, Spike? He's not in the comics. He's an original character from the show. He kind of sucks. No offense. Just, I don't know if there's any Spike fans out there, but he kind of sucks. I'm sorry. He they were trying to make the team a little bit more diverse, which I appreciate, and that's a very X-Men type thing. And you have Storm already, of course, but then you don't have, but she's like one of so Storm, the show is weird. Okay, so Storm and Wolverine are the only two on the team that aren't teenagers, which I think makes sense, because it'd be fucking weird to have those two be teenagers at the same time as everyone else. Like Wolverine, he's like 100 years old, so that doesn't make sense with the canon. And Storm, like her whole thing is that she's like a goddess when they first meet her in the comics, and like, so it just, her whole vibe, I don't know, it would be weird if she was going to high school in New York. It doesn't quite make sense. So we want to have like an actual more diverse group of teens going to high school. Fair enough. But oh man, Spike, he just feels so much like, oh, we got to be hip with the teens, make him like a skateboarder and stuff. And it's giving Rocket Racer from the 90s Spider-Man show. I don't know. I could forgive that a little bit because it was the 90s and, whatever. But Spike is he's just really annoying. And I don't like him. Anyways, but there's some stuff that I really dig. Like I really love Rogue in this show. They made her a goth, which is like, yeah, that tracks. That works. And then you can like have her wearing gloves all the time, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's what the character would wear. And I really like this show's approach to like the villains, like the Brotherhood, in this show. So like the part of the first season is that Mystique is like the principal of the school, and so she's trying to recruit different mutants to like join her and Magneto's like Brotherhood. While the X-Men are going to the school and trying to like recruit them to Xavier's school. So then you have like characters like Quicksilver and the Blob and Toad and stuff, who classically are X-Men villains, but here they're more just like school bullies. And because they're all teenagers, they're not just like pure evil. It's more just like, oh, they're, weird and different, and they don't fit into normal society, and so they kind of just end up being bullies and like fall into the wrong crowd and get like manipulated a little bit by Mystique and Magneto and stuff. And it's like, yeah, no, that tracks actually. That's actually pretty smart. Like with the Blob, like he's just kind of a big guy who's like really strong, and so he gets bullied, because he's a big guy. So then he like takes out that energy on becoming a bully himself. It's like, yeah, no, I've seen that. That tracks. I've seen that happen. It's very high school, but it's very like pretty, but it's also pretty accurate to like how teenagers behave as well. So I kind of like that, and I like that it's also kind of suggesting that the villains in this show aren't pure evil. They're just kind of misled, and a lot of them like don't have good home lives. For example, like Quicksilver is one of the villains in this show, and they're like kind of hinted at that Magneto's his dad, but like he's not around to like look after Quicksilver. So that probably doesn't help. I mean, not that Magneto would be a great dad anyways, because he's also kind of evil, but at the same time, I don't know what I'm getting at here. Anyway, the point is, I think it's it's a lot more nuanced take on some of the X-Men characters, and like why certain ones like kind of fall into villainy, and like maybe they're actually more sympathetic than, like, because that's like the X-Men's goal in this show, is not to just like fight the bad mutants, it's to like try to redeem them, which I think is really cool. Like the way they do Rogue is cool too, because she kind of starts off as like not sure which way she's gonna fall, if she's gonna join the X-Men or if she's gonna join the bad guys, which kind of hints at her character from the comics, who started out as a villain, and it's like a cool way of doing that. So I'm into it. I think it's fun. It is kind of a weird show. The other thing that's throwing me is the Wolverine actor. I'm just gonna look this up. So in the 90s show, Wolverine was played by Cal Dodd, and then he comes back for X-Men 97, and he kind of defined like what Wolverine sounds like, at least in animated stuff.
Cyclops! I know how you feel about it, Wolverine, but... You know nothing, little man. Next time, I use these.
And then later on, you had like Wolverine in the X-Men, where Steve Blum, who's done a ton of voice acting, played Wolverine in that. And he's kind of sort of doing a Cal Dodd impression. And Steve Blum would go on to play Wolverine in like a bunch of other stuff too, like the Hulk versus Wolverine movie, and like just any other Wolverine animated appearance. He's in a lot of video games as well.
Your pocket, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
So like those were the two Wolverine voices that I was like, that's what Wolverine sounds like. In X-Men Evolution, Wolverine's played by Scott McNeil, who I know because he plays Tahu in the Bionicle movie.
Chronicler! Sightseeing, were ya?
He does a decent enough job here. He's not like bad in the role or anything. He just sounds different than how I think Wolverine should sound, which is like these two other performances, and that's it. So it's throwing me because like I'm like, yeah, look, it's Wolverine, and then he'll start talking. I'm like, that doesn't sound like Wolverine. So it's not his fault or anything, but it is like throwing me a bit, and I'm not into it as much as the other performances. But again, it's not like a bad performance or anything. I'm just like, no, he sounds wrong. He sounds incorrect. Magneto is played by, and I'm blanking on his name now too, Christopher Kratos. What's his name? Christopher Judge. Oh my goodness. Why did I forget his name? So Magneto is played by Christopher Judge, aka the fucking God of War.
The fucking God of War.
And that tracks. That's a good casting. I really liked Magneto in this show too, because he's completely in shadow for like the majority of the first season. We don't see his full face until like the season finale. So he's just this like mysterious guy who's in the shadows for the majority of the season. And that's pretty cool. I also like that this show is a lot more grounded. So it really like, it brings the X-Men back to being super relatable. Because they are, you know, they're sort of a metaphor for racism, you know, homophobia, any of those types of things. Feeling different, feeling othered, being discriminated against. And that stuff, I think, has always worked really well. But, you know, a lot of the time, a lot of X-Men stories are about them, like, traveling through time and going to space. And in some of those, it gets, like, a little bit away from some of the more grounded, relatable themes of the characters. Where in X-Men Evolution, it's like a little bit more grounded. It's more about them going to high school, and I kind of dig that. So I'm enjoying it. I think it's pretty fun. Anyways, that's all for now. Go watch X-Men 97. It's really good. And I've got more videos coming very soon. So that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.